Tired of feeling like you're spinning all the plates in your design business and at any moment they could all come crashing down? Are you feeling like you're so close to breaking through to the next level, but those consistent projects still aren't flowing your way? Are you ready to finally take your business from a hobby to 100K and beyond? Then welcome to the Six Figure Designer Podcast. I'm talking all the techniques you need in your design business to start paying yourself, get great clients, and finally break through that 5-figure ceiling. So, hey everyone, thanks so much for joining me again for another episode of the podcast. Today I have a special treat for you. I actually have a guest with me, and I'm really excited to talk to Jennifer today about a host of things we went over even before we started recording, all the things that we want to touch on. And I had to write notes because we want to make sure we get to all of them. But I want to thank Jennifer Smith of Jennifer Smith Design. Thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. This is my first, so I'm excited. Thanks.
An inaugural podcaster. This
Yeah.
may get bitten by the bug like the rest of us. So,
I listen to a lot, including yours, but yeah.
yes, and I think that's one of the things that as designers we kind of love that learning. We love learning new things, right? And so many people listen to podcasts, and it's definitely a fun medium to get a lot of information while we run around and do all the things that we do. Right.
It's true.
Yeah,
It's great. While driving.
Yeah, of course. We gotta, we can't, God forbid, we only do one thing at a time. That, oh no. Well, so Jennifer and I worked together. We did some coaching together. And I remember distinctly, Jennifer, when we first spoke on the phone, you had mentioned to me that you've always been a big lover of art, and correct me, maybe you have a background in art as well.
I do not have a background in art. No. But I live in Asheville, North Carolina, and we have sort of a reputation as a city with a lot of art. And I don't know if you want to get into this right now, but I was overwhelmed by the art that I was seeing, and I felt clients overwhelmed as well. So I stepped into the role through an artist friend, Money Hill, who kind of held my hand and said, "We need you. Let's go."
Yeah. And one of the things that when we first spoke, I thought was so interesting is that you were like, I really like art. I want to incorporate more art into my business. And I think in even our first conversation, I'm like, why don't you lead with that in terms of what you're doing and all your content? And you were kind of like, I'm not sure if that's something I want to do. And since then, and we're going to get into the whole story of that, but since then, you have really stepped into incorporating art as a lead item in your work.
Yeah. The more I processed with other artists and the more I thought through my process, it's not always going to happen, but my ideal client would be an empty space. And, when we have an empty space, we could start with a rough or a color palette or whatever, or we could start with something that you really fall in love with, a piece of art. So that's my ideal. And now to start with a piece of local Asheville art that you love that can sort of infuse life and
jump off, right? The jump
off
for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at first you were hesitant to really step into that being a primary focus when you met with a client. How has that changed now? How do you approach it now differently than maybe you did a few months ago before we were, working together? How have you changed your approach to really incorporating art as one of the first pieces?
Well, and it hasn't been that long, and I haven't had a lot. We also had probably 6 or 8 weeks of not many new clients after Hurricane Helene. So I try to go into each project with an eye for what might inspire the client, what artists they might connect with as far as style, and what their home needs. So I right now I'm sort of approaching it that way. I don't have that many, or I don't know if this needs to be in the podcast. I don't have, anyone who has come to me with a blank space and sort of bought into that idea yet necessarily, but the projects I've worked on, we are keeping an eye towards art,
Yep.
but it's still not leading with the art. I
I
would like for it
it's
to be.
so funny you say that, because I disagree with you because I think I've seen over the last couple months so much of your work, even what you're posting, what you're talking about is really leading with art, and I even remember you posting something which said basically how the art was the beginnings of everything or how to work around a design, around
Yeah,
a loved piece of art. So you really
yeah,
are stepping into this a lot more.
yeah. I also, have a wonderful social media person who, had, a lot of experience with art, and so she and I have been a great team in working towards that, so.
Yeah, and even when we met before, and we're gonna get into how the hurricane actually affected your town itself, but before that all happened, we were working together, and you had, some opportunities that came about where you had decided to partner with a local furniture store and
Mhm.
bring in rotating local art and artists, and then we were talking about maybe you can get into this a little bit. We were talking about how you could not only take that idea, which you had already, started to implement, but how you could take it further so that you could garner clients from it, right? So you were talking about doing like an event or something like that in the
Mhm.
furniture store. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, yeah, we have a beautiful luxury furniture store that's fortunately not too far from my house even, and, um, we I they have beautiful furnishings, beautiful accessories, lamps, things like that, but only prints on the wall. So I just saw that as an opportunity and pitched them the idea of rotating some local artists through the space. And so they gave me a wall, and that's what we started with. We was the initial event actually to launch this was canceled because of Hurricane Helene. So we've had a Christmas event since then, but it was Christmas as well. And so that artist brought in some small pieces that had sort of Christmas um, decor on the edges and stuff. But um, it's been a little slow because of that. But she's gotten a lot of exposure. It's been good exposure for me, and it's been great to work with this store. So it's been a great start, even though it's kind of been a weird time.
Yeah, and I think that when the hurricane hit and you and I don't know how many times Asheville's been hit with a hurricane, but certainly
Never.
Florida's been hit quite a bit in the last couple of years. And one thing that, I've definitely learned is that you need to prepare for the unexpected in your business, meaning, we had a whole host of things happen over the last 4 years that weren't even natural disasters that
Truly.
came upon without warning. So definitely having a little bit of a plan in place in terms of setting money aside and just the rainy day fund is an incredible way to help us through these uncertain times because it is incredibly stressful. And we're going to definitely talk about how that hurricane affected you um, in a little bit. But even before that, so when you and I started working together, um, and we had started working specifically on purchasing and how to incorporate more purchasing in your business. But there were a few aha moments that came about that actually were like bigger than purchasing in my idea,
Yeah.
in my mind, in terms of how you run your design business. And there were a couple things that actually I wrote some notes on because one of the things that you had said to me was you had a specific situation where a client came to you and said, "I only have this much money to spend," which I think was 50,000. And you had said to me, "I don't think we can do what they want to do
Mhm.
for that amount of money." And you were struggling with what to do with that, how to handle that.
Mhm.
Do you want to get into more of how that situation, how we navigated that where I was telling you basically that it was your job, right, as the expert
Mhm.
to say, "I honor what you've told me in terms of the budget, but this is what I think you should do based on what you've told me, and we may need to revisit that budget."
Yeah. Um, our conversations, I think it was over about 8 weeks or so, really, gave me sort of ownership in that language of being the expert, but also sort of the coach to help them,
Well,
um, cast the vision for what their space can be. And I am the expert as far as the quality that they would like and the quality they could get if we tried to work within that budget.
well,
So I think that might be how I would have approached it before. But after our conversation, and I think the tone of that before might have been a tone of sort of, well, we can't do everything,
not
that
possible.
right worry. But talking with you, all of that time with you, gave me more confidence to it is sales, but in a really relational sort of vision casting way that helps them dream of what this can be and how we can make their space the level of comfort, the level of style, the level of cohesion and beauty that they desire. And so maybe in after casting that vision, maybe we need to break it into two chunks.
Right.
Worst case scenario. In that case, we were able to push the budget a little bit to accommodate what they wanted more.
So in that situation, so
It
after
worked.
we talked and we kinda talked through ways that you could, you know, still feel really good about what was happening,
Mhm.
approach it with, "Hey, I wanna educate you on what I think this space could be." Talk me through, or debrief us a little bit on what happened afterwards when you said to them after we talked and you said, "They have 50,000 to spend, and they're telling me they want something, but that's not possible for 50. How do I approach that?"
Mhm. We
Me
can-
how that conversation went with them.
So I broke down kind of where we could, if we needed to cut where we could cut, but I also gave them a budget um for the potential that I felt like would inspire them, would be a space. It's a vacation home, a home that they would love to um, retreat to. And they needed to take a little bit of time and discuss, and they ended up feeling like that they could manage. I think it wasn't even that much more. I think we came in at about 65 or so, which I know is more. But
30% more. That's a big
to be I mean, yeah, but to meet their goals and exceed as far as style and comfort,
yeah.
they have felt like it was absolutely worth it.
Yeah, so I think there's a huge lesson here is that,
Mhm,
we try to make decisions for our clients or what
mm,
we feel comfortable with. I think we talked about that is like, okay, would I ever put a $20,000 sofa in my house? No. But we are not necessarily our clients. And to allow them to have all the information, to educate them on what their recommendation is, and then let them make the decision, I think is very empowering for clients. And you saw in this particular instance, you felt really good. It's not
mhm,
like I'm trying to spend their money and more and not being
mhm,
a steward, right?
mhm. Absolutely. I felt like this was actually being a better steward of their money because they would get what they wanted and the quality that they wanted.
Right.
I feel like they um appreciated that in the end and feel the same way. And then I've actually been able to do the same thing two more times. One is yeah, yeah. One is a particularly fun space. With it was an open space in a client's home. We did the rest of his home, and then he had an empty room, and we weren't sure what to do with it. I just kind of thought, let's give it a little time and see how you want to live in this space. And he came to me because he bought 4 slot machines and decided he wanted a casino room. And
How fun.
fun,
Yeah.
super fun. I never would have dreamed I'd get to do that. And so in talking with him, I sort of processed our conversations again and thought, I could decorate this room. I could get he was asking for a rug and a couple of counter stools to make it a little bit cozy.
Right.
And I could do that. Or we could blow it out, and he is so thrilled. We've ordered, he hasn't received anything yet, but, I had to we had another delivery last week, and he was proud of where it was gonna go. We've got this fabulous wallpaper on the ceiling and dark, moody walls, I proposed a nicer, really comfortable, high-end custom counter stool,
Yep.
and honestly, I would not have dreamed of that before, but he's really thrilled to have a nicer option that he can fit in all day and before and feel good about. And some other things, a convex mirror that's a really high-end, beautiful piece that I wouldn't honestly, it was pretty expensive. I would not have proposed that before, but thinking of our conversation, why not give him what he wants? Give him
Right.
something really stunning and fabulous, and he's very excited about it. So, thanks.
I mean, gosh, this so that confidence to be like, listen,
Yeah.
I respect where you guys are coming from in terms of budgets. Sometimes clients don't know what they don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
at the time they don't know what things cost, so they just throw a number
Mhm.
out there,
Sure.
right? I think you're
Mhm. Yeah.
when they come to you and you feel the freedom, the creative freedom to be like, listen, I saw these things that could make this space a whole different look or could meet your expectation more accurately. Maybe not
Mhm.
meet your budget, but meet your expectation, which is what you've been telling me all along.
Yeah.
I think they, like you said, appreciate having the choice and
Mhm.
having the option to be able to do that. And you're finding in your own business that people are willing to take that leap because they've seen how amazing it can be. I bet you feel also creatively a lot more empowered, right?
It is. I'm excited. I met with some local designers last week, and that was the project that I'm really excited about right now to see it come together. And so, yes, on my end, I am enjoying this process more. I also know, honestly, and I don't do things necessarily for my portfolio, but this will look fantastic in my portfolio as opposed to what I might have done, which is sort of give him what he wants and make it
Stay in
look
the love.
good.
Yep.
But
Mhm.
yeah, but this is fabulous, and he's thrilled. So I appreciate you um encouraging me to help clients dream and think big.
Yeah, and I think that the hesitation was on your part, which may be on a lot of other designers' parts who are listening, is that you were not respecting what they had told you their budget was, which isn't
Mhm.
really the case at all, and you didn't wanna feel pushy or
Yeah.
that you were not respecting what they had told you, but really reframing that conversation going, "I totally hear where have given me this budget and I'm aware of it, but I thought I would show you this as
Y-
we," right?
Yeah. Yeah,
And it felt
absolutely.
really good, didn't it?
Mhm. It does. Yeah. And this is something that he could not have put together himself at all. This shows that thoughtful designer was there, and so he's proud to have that. Yeah.
Such a great aha moment there because
Yeah.
when we talk about, what professional designers bring to the table, this is it.
Mhm.
I'm thinking of something that if you just gave him exactly what he asked for in the budget that he asked for, again, he might have been perfectly satisfied. Um, but you going above and beyond and now him being thrilled, he's realizing, "I couldn't have done this.
Yeah.
Not even imagine doing something like this or coming up with these ideas or, having these choices without
Yeah.
a designer with me," right? And
Yeah. Absolutely.
that's the value. So hopefully you get a nice testimonial from him, regarding that. But I will tell you that it's happened to me time and time again, and Jennifer's seeing it as well, you can get clients to spend 30% more than they originally thought because they just don't know. It's not like you're
Mhm.
trying to spend their money and just push up the budgets, but they just don't know what's available, what's out there. They're only going on the information that they have. And that kind of ties me to the other aha moment that you told me about was let them fall in love with
Mhm.
you because that trust level goes up. And I think that's also around this going, hey, I respect what you've given me so far in terms of what your parameters are, but I think that we should go in this direction because, and I think you said that was a big aha moment, correct?
It was definitely, yes. Yeah, I think, I don't know, I can't think of the exact connection that made for me, but it's something I think about all the time that, I guess I thought in my mind, I needed to be very professional, and when I was, more personal and more, asking about their kids or whatever it is, that felt like being less professional. So I feel like you
Interesting.
gave me permission to just it's human. Sometimes I am standing in the like all designers standing in the shower with a client trying to figure out what we're
You're in the
going to do with the
shower with a client. Hold on. What?
expressions. The ones not on and clothes are on. But you're
Yeah.
in a small space. It's an intimate experience
Yeah.
sometimes. And so it felt more real. It felt more me to to be myself and really let them get to know me as well and just have a more personal relationship. And I think I would do that anyway before, but I felt sort of like I was failing or not.
You're holding back a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. But now just really engaging with them. They're sharing their lives with me. They're opening spaces they're sometimes a little embarrassed about. So why would I not, yeah, help them fall in love with me and trust me through the process? Um
Yeah.
that was
I think the thing that you said to me was, "Oh," and I think it's right along what you just said was, "I can just have a conversation. I don't need to have every answer figured out ahead of time. It can be a give and take conversation." Like we were talking about how to make the best use of your, vignette in the furniture store. And I was literally like, well, why don't you just go ask them? Like, how could we throw some ideas around here so that it works really well for both of us? And you were like, oh, I don't have to have it all figured out and try to like think about what they're thinking in their minds. I could just literally ask them.
yeah, that's
Which is
true.
great. And I think, and you're like, this is just us having conversations and discovering things about each other. Same with clients. Like, you don't have
Mhm.
to have all the answers to be professional, right? You just
Yeah.
be a person who has a skill that's helping a client.
And I can you we all know this, but it was really good for me to talk through it with you and to hear you say it out loud. But I can have a lot of experiences with countless different kitchens or bathrooms or whatever, living rooms, whatever it is. But there always going to be something new in each job, which is part of the reason I love what I do. But I don't think anyone expects us to have every answer all the time. And so,
But
yeah,
we hold ourselves to that weird standard for
we
some
do.
our little perfectionist designer selves and been like, I don't know exactly every answer to every question that could come up during this project the entire time. So therefore I'm failing
Yeah.
as a
Mm,
professional, right? Instead of saying it's a discovery, right? It's still a creative process. So you're going to
mhm.
learn more and more things about your client as you roll along. I'm in a project right now and the clients are like, we're talking about selections and what the spaces are going to look like. And I
Mhm.
literally said to them, we've spent 15 minutes together. We're
Mhm.
still learning. I'm still learning
Mhm.
what you like. I'm still gathering information.
Yeah, that's
Like,
good.
totally
Mm,
get that, but I was like, "Do you realize that I can't just come up with a design without having any, meaningful interaction with you. Yes, I
mhm.
got the job really quickly, but in the sense almost too quickly because now we're going through that process of learning about each other.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of times where I'm like, I need you to react to a whole bunch of things so I can see where
Yeah. Yeah.
where your nature lies in terms of what you're gravitating for towards, what you're willing to do. And I think you're discovering the same thing. Is just you
Mhm.
have to be having those real conversations with people. And we've talked about I think the thing that you found most helpful was literally having almost role playing out that conversation, like, how would you handle this or what should I do here? And we've
Yeah.
talked about it,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. Well, and I've started just telling clients, we can here, these might be some options, but the truth is, when I'm mulling things over in a day or two or can't sleep, that problem is often solved better.
Yeah.
After a few days of mulling it over. So I'm kind of not committing to anything right now because we might come up with something better. And often we have. I'm working on a weird bathroom layout right now. And after 3 different iterations, we found a fabulous layout. But
Yes.
they have felt like it's a journey. It's an old home, and they've been on a journey with me to figure it out. We're very excited where it's going. But
See,
it's
I
a journey.
feel like that journey is almost really good for clients to understand because
Mm.
then they realize how that design process, I call it let it simmer, right? Like we come up with a
Mhm.
problem, we throw out some ideas, we're like, oh, it's, okay. And then over a couple days, like you mentioned, in the shower, in the middle of
Mhm.
the night, something comes to you, your brain, your subconscious brains works through it. And your client is seeing how you're trying to solve this like really weird, funky problem.
Mhm.
And you're like
Mhm.
throwing ideas out there and you're talking through it. And then you get to the place
Mhm.
where you're like, that's it. And that makes them appreciate all that work that goes into design. I
Mhm.
think you mentioned this earlier, and I feel like clients want you to like know the answer right then and there. Like, so what do you think? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, we're still kind of feeling it out. And it's good for them to see that we are not, instantaneous designers. Like, it is, I always say design is a process. I tell clients this, and I think you agree with that, is that
Yeah.
it starts one place, but where you ended up, and even the client that you did the whatever, the gambling room or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
that started in a whole different, you know,
Oh, yeah.
place.
Yeah, yeah, and that still gives me a little bit of a heebie-jeebies that I don't know right now, but I will know, and we will feel good about it, but that little conversation still makes me a little nervous sometimes,
Well, but
but it's
here's
the
what
best.
yeah, I mean, you can do that now through photographs because you can be like, "Hey, we," it's almost like a case study of a project, and you can say, "Let me give you an example. We started out in this room with these ideas. This is how the client came to me. This is what their thoughts. We talked through it, and this is where we ended up." And it ended up in such a better place. But we needed to, kind of do the Ben Franklin. We had to talk through this or that. What happened? All of a
Mhm.
sudden, they bought three, machines that now changed a little bit.
Yeah.
That's what happens in design. It is a creative process as much as it has sort of a technical component to it when you're technically, creating things with trims and orders and details and quarter inch here and half inch here. It's still a
Mhm.
creative process for coming up with that whole idea.
Absolutely, and I have found that through that process, oftentimes you learn things about the client that they kinda didn't either they didn't tell you in the first place
Yeah.
or they didn't know about themselves. Like they have a particular, I don't know, like storage to be on the left rather than the right of the sink. And just little things like that that are particular to them, but we couldn't have gotten there had we not taken a journey together rather than, if I just popped it out pretty fast, it would not be custom to them.
I 100% agree. I mean, one thing I tell people is, maybe you've been thinking about this kitchen for years and that's great. Maybe you've been gathering pictures and all of that's great. But it's sort of been on the peripheral. Now, when we get to the point where you're going to put money down, pen to paper, this is when it goes sort of to the front of your mind. And now you're hyper focused on every kitchen you see in a magazine, every kitchen that you look at in a showroom, you're touching, you're looking, you're opening doors, you're opening drawers, and that's where your hyper focus comes. And that's when those level of details start to emerge. Like you said, sometimes in that process, and this is why I tell clients design as a process, and you said it so well, is that they don't even know, like, they don't know what they don't know, and they
Mhm.
discover some things about themselves as they get more educated about this
Mhm.
one particular area that they're doing in their home or something like that. Because they didn't, how would they think? They wouldn't even think twice about, oh, I wanted something on the left until you got to that point, right? When you were like,
Yeah,
we're doing this. What do and they go in their own kitchen, they go, oh, we like it on the left, or we didn't like
yeah,
it here. We're going to move it.
yeah, and you've adapted, but now we're asking, we can make the
Yes.
space adapt to you. So that's a great way to say it. I'm gonna use that.
Okay, we can everybody be writing some of these things down.
Yes,
I think we're dropping some gems here, but
yes.
I think it's okay to tell clients this is a process. You're going to learn some things. Not only am I going to learn about you, but you're going to learn some things about yourselves that you didn't know because I'm going to show you some things you've never seen before. I'm going to expose you to some things you've never experienced before. I'm going to ask you some questions that you probably never even thought of, and that may adjust your thinking. That's why design projects start in one place and meander and develop into a different final product because we learn so much. And that's what that creative process, that personalized process, that custom designed process creates from that.
Mm,
Because if they just had the thing they had in mind when they first started, they could recreate that
yeah.
very
Well,
easily.
and I like the way you're setting them up. I'm really gonna use that. You're setting them up from the beginning that this is a process,
Yep.
and you may feel a little uneasy, um, at times, but we're learning about ourselves and we're learning about design and how we prefer to live. And so the designer, Pam, is setting you up to how let me think how um you're establishing this from the beginning that even when they feel a little uncomfortable or things might change, it's a good thing, not an uncertain. So
Yeah, so you're
embrace.
setting the expectations. The only thing that clients want to know ahead of time is what are the rules of the game? Tell me the rules of the game. And what you're telling them is, listen, we're going to start with, start at point A. And as we move through each step in the process, we're going to be gathering more and more information. I always say, when you meet with a doctor and they ask you the same question like 14 different ways, it's because you answer the question differently. And you give them more information every time you answer that question.
Yeah.
And more little gems come out. And that's why we have to do that as designers as well. Is just,
Yeah.
we're going to start here. And the process is going to move along. And look, we're going to get you where you need to be. So you don't need to worry about that, but we're just
Mhm.
gathering information, right? And
Yeah.
move along so that we can create the best project possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
That's
it's just
good.
telling them what the rules are, what the rules of the
Yeah.
game, what to expect.
Yeah. Yeah. And that you are, even if you change from A to B, that's not you second guessing that's evolving with them. So they feel comfortable that you have it in hand.
Yes, I just had a situation where a client wants to redo part of their kitchen, and their kitchen cabinets are not my favorite wood finish. And when I first suggested that we change the color of the cabinets, she was like adamantly, absolutely not, can't do it, can't do it. We just had a meeting a couple days later, and she's like, I'm so happy. We're changing the color of the cabinets. And I was like, so she literally took a 180, but it was that process of understanding what that all means, that everything relates to another, right?
Yes. 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 Yeah. And feeling comfortable that you are the expert through the process. Yes.
Right. And they don't understand that one detail can have a ripple effect to other things as well,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
If you,
I
you know,
definitely try to set people up. Mhm.
because
I'm
all
sorry.
it have to do with what's the accent, where does your eye go, how does that work in this room with all the other elements? You change one element, now you've got to
Mhm.
resituate
Mhm.
other items so that the focus is where you need it to be. right? And they
Yes.
just don't understand that because 'cause they're not designers, so
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
just have to
Yeah.
like, "Hey, this is how it works."
Yeah. No, that's good. I would love to talk more about how you do that. Like, yeah, because that's always a challenge too. It's because we can't just tweak one or two little things.
One piece does have effect on another thing, and
Mhm.
they compartmentalize the
Mhm.
items because it makes sense to them, but we
Mhm.
know that there's, you know, how many there's 4 walls, a ceiling, and a floor, plus all the things in the space, and all those work together.
And we're in the
It can change one thing and the rest can remain, and maybe, but maybe not. Um,
yeah. Yeah.
so I think that's a good thing to definitely talk through.
Well, that you give me a lot of good language like that. That is just helpful. Yeah. But that was a big thing that came from our coaching was just good language for things that I know, but it helps clients feel comfortable and engaged
How they
and
feel
heard.
comfortable. Yep, heard, I love that.
Mhm.
How it's
Mhm.
okay to sell people into maybe, other pieces, but also, like, the bigger picture, right? The big
Mhm.
for what this could be, and
Mhm.
that is selling, but it's still selling in a very, in a way that still feels authentic, and that still feels like you're doing your job as a designer to
Mhm.
give them that choice, right? You're not taking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So the other thing I want to talk about is, so you live in Asheville, and Asheville unfortunately was really devastated with Hurricane Helene. I mean, in an incredible way.
Yeah, yeah, we have a couple of rivers that flooded dramatically more than, they call it a 1,000-year flood. I don't even know what that means exactly, but, our topography is just such that the water didn't have anywhere to go but up, and because it's very hilly, our city is kind of in the mountains, like, to go to a friend's house, I'll go the 15 minutes away, I go over a mountain sometimes.
Yeah.
So the mountains mean there are low spots too. And our arts district, the River Arts District, is a very low spot on the French Broad River that flooded um, over 25 feet. And so we had countless studios just completely demolished, and things that had never flooded before. Like I live close to Biltmore Village and it does flood from time to probably every year or so. But this is
Well
above,
beyond, well
yeah, like
beyond.
10 to 12 feet up. And, just a large portion of the city was demolished. But, um, I work with these artists. I attend their events. I really have grown to care about them and feel that they add so much to our community because the artists sort of, I feel like they're a little bit of a canary in the coal mine and have to live vulnerably and put their heart in their work out there in a vulnerable way. So, I just wanted to do what I could to help these artists. So the storm hit on a Friday morning, and I have a child with special needs actually. And so when it became evident that we had no cell service, no water, no power, and that wasn't coming back anytime soon. The only thing we could see were military helicopters everywhere. Um, my 2 boys and I left town to go to my parents' house for a few days. And so that process, and that drive, to their house, there was one way out and it was a tricky drive, but, I just was thinking about what can I do from afar to help these artists? And so, the one thing I had was a computer full of artists' images, um, and I had my social media person is in Charlotte, so she could work on things, and I could occasionally get a text or a communication email or something from an artist to say, "Go for it." And so I put together this Asheville Artist Revival to just make their surviving works available
Yep.
outside of the community because I just thought we're not gonna have tourists for a while, and we're not gonna be able to have art within Asheville being sold very much. So, just to make it available to the design community and to the world, um, was looking to support an artist or looking to support Asheville, but this would directly support an artist, put money on their table or help them buy supplies or whatever they needed to begin to rebuild.
Yeah, it's an incredible thing that you're doing, and I know that, you've dedicated a lot of time on your Instagram to this, and, we're gonna definitely put your Instagram handle in the show notes, but tell us how it works. Are you directing people to the artist's site directly, or are you selling it through your own website? How can they help if they wanna participate in this?
I have probably about 25 or 30 pieces on my website. So there's a art consulting tab on my website, and through that you get to the Asheville Art Revival page,
Yeah.
and there are artists listed. But I try to make it look open ended enough that if you like a particular style, but maybe the size doesn't work or something like that, reach out. We can work it out. Might be a commission, might be that they have something else because I couldn't put everything um, on this site. So I'm in part, it's just, if you fall in love with a piece and it's available, you can email me and purchase it. But some of these are investments. So I've also offered to talk with you um, to look at pictures of your space, assuming you're outside Asheville. If you're in Asheville, I would go to your home or office or whatever and look at the space. But also, we can do that virtually and have a Zoom call or whatever and chat through what size might be best or what. So, if you're wanting to support an artist in Asheville,
Yeah.
I can make it happen.
I know it's such a cool, twist that your business has taken.
Mhm.
I really feel that this avenue is a really great way for you to blow up your business because I think it
Mhm.
feels so authentic to you, and I think it feels so good to you.
That when this artist proposed this and said, we really need a designer who has an eye toward art consulting in Asheville. We don't have anyone like that. Would you consider it? And I was booked up. I was really full. And I just thought, crazy. And then she just said, let me introduce you to some people because I have felt very overwhelmed by the Asheville art scene. And there is some art in Asheville that does not look like art um, that is the high quality art you see in other cities. It maybe looks a little unprofessional, and that is sometimes what you see more of. And so she took my hand, and we really dug deep and found the really hardworking, dedicated artists in Asheville um, who I'm proud to support and to take clients to their studios. And so, I don't remember even the question, but yeah, that's what got me these artists and
Yeah.
who they are really reeled me in because I like being with them. I like supporting them. It feels really good.
Yeah, I was just saying how like this so we talk about niching a lot in I'm a firm believer in having a point of view from a designer
Mhm.
standpoint and I just feel like this feels really good to you. Like this feels really natural. It's something that you're attracted to naturally in your own business and I think that it has um turned into what I think is going to be a very big focus in your business moving forward because you
Mhm.
feel so passionate about it.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I think
Yeah. Well, and it's a great starting place for design too. So it's a perfect marriage.
feels good all around. So, if people want to look at the type of artist that that you've represented on your website, they can go to your website. Tell us your website.
It's jennifersmith.design.
Okay.
No, 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 that's not it. I'm sleeping.
All right.
That's
That's
fine.
fine there.
Um,
We'll put it in the show.
dot com.
It's okay. She can't remember her website. It's
jennifersmithdesign.com.
yeah. Yes, we will definitely put that in the show notes. So if you want to peruse in there and look at the various artists that she has on there, I love that she's supporting these local Asheville artists, especially after, even yourself going through this incredible event. Um, if I totally feel for you because I know that you were okay, right? After the
Yes, we were fine. We had some trees down on our driveway, but we were fine. We were without water for, I think, a month or so, and
Oh, that
so
was
it was
crazy.
it was a big challenge. But, I
Yeah.
there's still a narrative out there. There have been so many good people and good stories that have come from it, and I know a lot of hard too,
So
but
if you want to support Jennifer and the art that she's representing, I'll be sure to put her website in the show notes so you can also check that out, and we can put her Instagram handle on there as well so you guys can do that. But Jennifer, thanks so much for spending some time with me and talking about so many things actually, like the confidence that you feel in your business and supporting these artists. It was really, I think, very helpful for other people to see how you're approaching it, how you're approaching the challenges of running a design business.
yeah, thank you. I really enjoyed our coaching time together, and I think of it regularly because I learned
I like
a
to
lot.
be the
Thank you.
I like to sit on your shoulder for like the rest
Mhm.
of your life. What would Pam do, like, what and, your little guardian angel sitting there telling you, "You can do it. You can do it."
Yeah, and the language you give and that confidence and and you have a lot of joy through it all, so thank you.
Well, thanks so much for being here, and, you guys just go ahead and make sure you check out Jennifer's website, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks a lot, I enjoyed it.